you believe it? Can you watch it?
I don't know anything about this. I'm just managing my.
Did you have a phone so we can just see?
I have a phone.
YouTube channel.
Sorry, where do I go?
YouTube.
Sounds like you've done with the new one, not the screen one.
Rabbinical College. Yeah. Oh yeah. How do I share this with someone?
They've been shared already all around.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Go ahead. Oh, Entschuldig, I need this model. Sorry.
They'll get up, don't worry. There's one way to get a seat.
That's it.
I always prefer to have a seat. Hi, how are you? Hi, Dave. How are you? See you. Ask the Brit.
It's being on the go for something.
Careful with the cables there. You need a longer extension. I just shared a live link to the ceremony, so there's a camera that's doing a live stream.
If I had the kind of money that's needed to make this happen, sure. Dick's on his way, by the way.
I've seen something about this.
Get rid of it. Let me ask you. First time here now? Very involved in the history.
I'll sit behind you.
Sure.
I'll keep an eye on you.
Yeah.
Do the right thing.
So I don't want to get up to any mischief, so get a chaperone.
You know, the worst thing is once that we don't know what's his tone. Like, is it happy? It's not happy. Try to
Tim, this is my partner, John Molina. Hi, how's it going? I'm Tim. Tim, how are you?
My apologies. Sorry. My apologies. You mind letting me go to one seat? One seat. I'll just leave this chair.
Certainly.
Manage this camera.
Council report, Philip?
Yes, that's right.
Well, we enjoyed working with you.
Oh, good. That's good. Oh, yeah.
Working with him for many, many years.
Well, there's quite a few people that tell us that we're
Morning.
convenient to them what we're doing, so it's nice to hear. No, we've known Philip for a long time. There are some. Good. Very nice to hear. And that's a good reputation I have.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this momentous occasion in the life of the Yeshiva Gedola. Special welcome to our dignitaries, Choshev Rabbonim, supporters, friends of Yeshiva Gedola, and most importantly, the Bochurim of Yeshiva Gedola. We're going to keep the speeches nice and short and sweet, but we have to welcome, and we're happy to welcome some of our dignitaries, our good friend David Southwick, local member of Parliament, Councillor Dick Ross, the local ward councillor who's representing the Mayor of Port Phillip, Councillor Tim Baxter, the ward councillor, and Maggie Pridmore, the senior urban planner. And these three people have been instrumental in supporting the Yeshiva Gedola over many years in the various government and town planning work, and we thank them for their support. And may God bless you to continue the good work you do for the local communities and for the government. Thank you. I'd also like to make special reference and thanks to Yossel Gutnick and Stera Gutnick, who are here. Yossel has been a big supporter of Yeshiva Gedola over many years, trustee, president, and benefactor, and this building would not have existed without their generous support. So we thank you, and may Hashem continue to. We'll start by welcoming up the Rosh Yeshiva, who also happens to be my father-in-law, Rabbi Cohen, who will say the Rebbe's kapitel and give a few brief words of bracha. Where's Mr. Gurovich? Feel him? Yep, feel him?
Heidel Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasdei.
Heidel Adonai.
Yom ano Yisrael ki le'olam chasdei. Yom no veis Aharon ki le'olam chasdei. Yom no Yirei Adonai ki le'olam chasdei. Min ameitza kavasi yo onani b'merchav yo. Adonai li lo iram hayase li odom. Adonai li ba'Israel vani erev esoinoi. Tev lachseis b'Adonai mitech ba'odam. Tev lachseis b'Adonai mitech b'nedivim. Kol goyim svavuni b'shem Adonai ki amilam. Sabuni gam svavuni b'shem Adonai ki amilam. Sabuni chidvorim da'achu ka'esh kritzim b'shem Adonai ki amilam. Doch chisani limpel v'Adonai azorani. Ozi v'zimros yo v'yihi li Yeshua. Kel v'ino v'Yeshua b'olei tzadikim. Min Adonai oisochoyel. Yimin Adonai remeimo yimin Adonai oisochoyel. Loi omus ki echye v'asaper maase yo. Yasa Yisrani Yov Lamovis Lein Sononi. Pisculi Shari Tzedek Ovevom Eide Ya. Zeh Hashal Adonai Tzadikim Yoveu Vei. Eit Chok Yanisoni Vathi Li Lishua. Even Moasu Habaynim Hoysel Reshpina. Leis Adonai Hoysel Zeisine Plos Beineno. Zeh hayom oso Adonai nagila v'nismacha v'ei. Ono Adonai hishiono, ono Adonai hatzlichono. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai barachnuchem mebeis Adonai. El Adonai vayoel lanu isuchag ba'avisim ad karnus hamizbeach. Eliato v'ideko Elohai arei memeko. Heidel Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasdei. All right, something short and sweet. I don't know about the sweet, but try to keep it short. The Alter Rebbe said we have to live with the times. The Parshas Hashvua. This week's Parsha is Parshas Vayeshev. Today's Shir Chumash. Yosef had two dreams. And then the dreams were, nothing happened. And the end of the parsha is V'oviv Shoma Esadova. His father guarded the thing, Yaakov. Says Rashi, what does it mean? His father was waiting. Mosai Tove, when is it going to come? Yaakov Avinu was sure his son had two dreams. It's going to happen. It took 22 years, but at the end it did happen. It's similarly over here, if we could make a comparison, we've had a dream. This one's been longer than 22 years, actually, if I remember rightly, when the first plans were drawn up. But nevertheless, sof kol sof, ultimately, we're here today. Actually, something is actually happening. We're breaking the ground. We're breaking the earth, the thick indifference, or whatever it is, the status quo, that nothing can move, that everything has to stay the way it's always been. We're going to actually move forward. Is Mamela, let this be a haschala tova. We thank everyone who's made this possible. I suppose mainly the donors who've made this possible. This should start moving, and this should be. Reb Zalman always used to write to the Rebbe. I remember Reb Zalman Serebransky used to write to the Rebbe asking for a bracha for the ispatchus ha-meised, for the development of the meised. The meised has to develop. The main thing of the meised of this yeshiva is the main thing is learning Torah, something spiritual. Nevertheless, the spiritual can only take place when there's a physical body in which the thing can happen. And this is part of the facilities. The buildings are essential in order that which is the main purpose of the yeshiva should actually be implemented. There need to be facilities for that, and facilities equals buildings. And buildings, this is where we are going today. V'oviv Shoma Esadova. The father's been waiting long enough, and now Mosai Tove, when is it going to happen? And this is Baruch Hashem today. I thank everyone and greet everyone for coming here, and hopefully we should look forward to that Melbourne should have the sort of a yeshiva gedolah which it deserves.
Thank you very much. Well, as we were talking about the dream of Yeshiva Gedolah, the journey of Yeshiva Gedolah started some 70 years ago in Sheffield with the establishment of the first yeshiva in Melbourne. And this was under the directive and the instruction of the Frierdiker Rebbe. The next part of the journey was in 1966 when Yeshiva Gedolah was formally established here in East St Kilda by Reb Zalman Serebransky. The journey continued with the purchase of this property here in Alexandra Street, Yud-Tes Kislev, in 1970. The journey continued when the Lubavitcher Rebbe himself chose a young couple, Rabbi and Reva Cohen, to come to Australia to be the Rosh Yeshiva in 1974. And over those years, literally thousands of Bochurim have been through Yeshiva Gedolah and have gone on to become rabbis, teachers, business people, all walks of life. So the journey continues today, and we're very proud that everyone can be part of that. And this dream that has been going on, as Rabbi Cohen spoke about, is now going to become a reality. Our next speaker, we're very fortunate to have Rabbi Leshus, who is an integral part of the Yeshiva Gedolah, and we invite Rabbi Leshus to say a few words.
This past Friday night, when I was leaving shul, so someone pointed to the sign about this event today and asked me, Rabbi Leshus, are you ready for this earth-shattering event? I must admit that I did groan in response, but within 24 hours, I realized what an apt description of this event is. And that's because I reviewed the Sikha from Tafshin Mem Ches in 1988. At the time of the expansion of 770, the Rebbe delivered a talk at the foundation stone, at the laying of the foundation stone, and the Rebbe described this as Shviras HaKarka. That what does it represent to lay a foundation stone? The very first step is to break the ground. And what does this mean? A building is a project which is developed by humans, and the very first step in any successful project is for a person to break his ego, break the gaiva, and to become humble. And that's the idea of Shviras HaKarka, of breaking the ground. And the next step is to take a stone, a natural stone, a stone that has not been changed by human intervention, and that represents something which is made by Hashem. Everything is, of course, made by Hashem, but something that there is no human intervention. It's very apparent that it's created by Hashem. And once a person has those two levels, first of all, the idea of bittul, and then next to the second thing is Hashem's, is the rock of this project, then we can move ahead and build the building. And I thought to myself how apt this is, because of course, this also describes the function of a yeshiva. When Bachrim come to a yeshiva, the first step, especially in a yeshiva such as Tamchet Minim, as we say in davening, the first step is v'nafshi ka'afel hakol tiyeh. The first step is humility, making oneself like the dust, and only afterwards comes the level of psach libi b'serasecha, opening your heart towards the Torah. And that is the cornerstone and the foundation for every bacher to then go out in the world and to build his respective binyan, his building, his edifice, whether this is going to be in what we call Klei Kodesh, in a career, whether as a rabbi or as a teacher, or someone who is involved in the business world. One other point, which is connected to this time of the year, is today we begin reading about the saga, about the beginning of Yosef HaTzadik, of Joseph being sold into slavery. And that, of course, culminated with the entire Jewish people moving to Egypt. And in 2 weeks, we're going to read when the Jews moved to Egypt. So the very first thing that Yaakov did is he sent Yehuda, that's Yehuda Shalach Lefonov, Lahiris Lefonov Geishna, in order to establish a yeshiva. And the Shalah connects this to the idea of Hanachas Evan Apina, of laying a cornerstone. The foundation of any successful project is through Torah, is through Yiddishkeit, and therefore the very first step that Yaakov performed was in order to send his son, Yehuda, to establish a yeshiva. The Rebbe asks a simple question. There was already a yeshiva in Egypt at the time, and that was directed by Yosef HaTzadik, who was a tremendous Talmid Chacham, a tremendous scholar. So why is it that Yaakov sent another child to establish a yeshiva? The Rebbe gives a very powerful answer, and that is that although Yosef was a tremendous Talmid Chacham, and he could give a brilliant shir, but nevertheless he could not provide an immersive experience. As the viceroy of Egypt, he had to be involved in the affairs of the country, and he couldn't devote himself 24/7 to the yeshiva. And Yaakov knew that a successful yeshiva doesn't just depend on a good shir and a nice zal, but it depends on a 24/7 immersive experience. So here we stand today at the Hanachas Evan Apina, and we're laying the cornerstone not just for a zal, but also for dormitory rooms. And we're providing the opportunity for Bachrim not just to be involved in Limud HaTorah, but to have the 24/7 yeshiva experience, which provides the cornerstone for life. I'd like to conclude with two thank yous. There's, of course, many people it would be appropriate to thank many people today, but I've been given, as we said before, short and sweet. I'd first of all like to thank Charlotte Tataka and the entire Tataka family for making this event possible. I'm sure Ronnie is looking down and shedding a lot of nachas and seeing the culmination, the fruition of what is essentially a large part of his own hard work in order to arrive to this day. The other thank you I'd like to mention is we know that Moshe Rabbeinu gets the credit for bringing the Shekhinah, the divine presence, down here, but that was the culmination of a lot of hard work of the previous generations. But nevertheless, Moshe Rabbeinu gets the credit because he's the one who got it done. And in similar fashion, what we're experiencing today is, of course, the culmination of the efforts of the administration and the executive and the donors. But I think a big round of applause and a tremendous thanks goes to Mr. G for tying in all the loose ends and making this happen. And I'd like to conclude. We know that the laying of the cornerstone is related to the pasuk Eben Masa Abonim, that the stone that the builders had despised, that refers to the Jews in the time of Golus. Haisel Reish Pino becomes the cornerstone with the coming of Mashiach. May be taken miyad speedily in our times. Thank you.
We spoke before about the Bochrim being the heart and soul of Yeshiva Gedola. And we're very honored to welcome up one of the Bochrim, a representative of his fellow students, Shaya Liberov, to share a few words.
So this week is your test slate. We celebrate the Alter Rebbe's release from prison. While he was in jail, he had a special visit from the Maggid, his teacher, and his teacher's teacher, the Baal Shem Tov, who were then not alive. He asked them, why am I here? Like, what did I do in jail? They answered, it's because you were spreading Hasidus in a way that's too much. Hasidus is something that's supposed to be hidden. It's not something that was revealed until now in such a way. And here you are, and you revealed it. So the Alter Rebbe asked, okay, so should I stop? He answered, no. They answered, no. You started, continue. Not only continue, but add even more. If you think about it, this decree that the Alter Rebbe should be in jail now, the Alter Rebbe himself took care of before. Years earlier, when his teacher was teaching Hasidus, they found a paper with Hasidus on it that was lying in a bad place. And because of that, there was a decree to stop teaching Hasidus, the same thing. And the Alter Rebbe gave a mashal which took care of the decree. He gave a parable. And he said, why is it important to teach something that's supposed to be hidden? Because now, the Alter Rebbe said, we're in a time where the Jewish people are spiritually dead, or spiritually almost dying. So it's like a king who has a prince, and the doctors prescribe as a medicine the gem of the king's crown to be crushed and given to the prince to heal the prince. And although this is the precious gem of the king gives it up for the prince to save his life. So the Alter Rebbe, by using this parable, he saved this decree, and the decree was annulled. So why didn't it work for the Alter Rebbe himself? The answer is that the Alter Rebbe revealed Chassidus in a way that his teacher didn't. He revealed it in a way that was clear, explained, and at length. The reason why was because, unlike the Maggid, he wasn't trying to save the Jewish people. The Jewish people were already saved by his teacher. They already had this life. The Alter Rebbe was trying to prepare the world for a time when we're going to be able to experience godliness, experience and live with the reality that we don't have now. And we're going to live in a world where we can see godliness. And to be able to really appreciate that, now we need to learn Hasidus. So it wasn't just enough to give little pointers or bits and pieces. But the Alter Rebbe said he went all out, because now we're preparing. We're on a mission to prepare the world for Mashiach. So practically, to the Bakrim, that means that while yeshiva's preparing and helping us, we're going to have a big building and it's going to be easy to learn. But now we have to do our part to learn Hasidus a lot and help with this mission to prepare the world for Mashiach. And to everyone else here, if you want to learn Hasidus, just come to yeshiva. We'll arrange you a chavrusa.
Rabbi Leshus mentioned the generous support of the Tataka family before. And of course, on a day like today, we remember Ronnie, who was a good friend of so many of us. Not only his charitable acts, but his acts of kindness to people, the love he showed to people, the warmth he showed to people, the care he showed to so many people across the community and across the world. And even in Yeshiva Gedola, the time he spent hours and hours and hours when no one knew he was doing it, just plugging away, quietly trying to help this Moised like he helped so many. But of course, it wasn't only Ronnie who was supportive, but Sorola, who was behind all of his work and continues now in the legacy. And Sorola, we thank you for everything you've done for Yeshiva Gedola. May Hashem bless you and your family that you can continue all this wonderful work. And Sorola and the family, we're delighted to have you here. And Shmuley, who is a representative of the Tataka family, is now going to share a few words. Shmuley, here you are. Welcome up to say a few words.
Good morning, rabbis and honored guests. Today's a bittersweet day for me and my family. I'm happy to be part of this official groundbreaking, and so is my family, for the building that will be named in honor of my father. But I'm sad to say that he's not here to share it with us, which obviously for us is a very hurtful thing. Yeshiva Gedola always held a special place in my father's heart. I have many memories of my father coming home late for meetings about YG. He cared deeply about the well-being of the students and staff. It was his life, his dream to see YG housed in a state-of-the-art building that will cultivate the learning and provide a comfortable and secure home away from home for students. Providing a home away from home was particularly important to him, influenced by the memories of his own student days at YG. He understood the few benefits of a home-style comforts and healthy balanced meals. I used to occasionally cook for YG and complained to my father that the kitchen was badly in need of equipment. He said nothing, but the next day he bought all the equipment I needed for it. That was typical of him and his generosity to others. He always put others first in business and in life. Our family are proud to be honored to be here. This building is a fitting legacy for a man like my father, who was a champion for the greater opportunity, particularly in the realm of education. And we hope that the students who learn here in this building will be inspired by his example. Thank you.
So the good news is that's the end of the speeches. And now we will proceed to the official groundbreaking. We're going to invite a few distinguished guests to participate in shoveling the ground. There is no particular order to this, so please don't think if you are number 1 or number 10, you are more important. Everyone is important, and we appreciate all of those who have supported this project, and the Mitzvah Hashem will continue to support. So I'd like to firstly call up Sorola with members of your family, Rabbi Binyamin Althaus. Miriam's there if you'd like to come and join. Avi and Shmuley are here. Please come up.
And Ellie.
And Ellie.
Yeah.
Please come up and
Oh, no.
Where's the signboard, guys? Where's the signboard? Signboard? Put them away. Oh, it is. Thinking from Alabama. Beautiful new perspectives.
I'm gonna dig holes up there.
Do you ship it?
Did anyway.
I'd now like to call Rabbi Yossel Goodnick to come up. And if Stera wants to join, she's welcome as well.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Mr. David Southwick, our local Member of Parliament and strong supporter of Yeshiva Gedola and many Jewish causes around the community. Thank you, David, for your support. Thank you. David and Menachem Mendel Perlo, together with Rabbi Yossi Gutnick, we call you up and thank you for your support.
The head show.
I now call on Eliezer Kornhauser, who is on the board of Yeshiva Gedola, a very strong supporter, both financially and spiritually and emotionally to the Mossad. So thank you, Eliezer, for your help. Yossi and Ruby Herzog continue the long legacy of the Herzog family supporting Yeshiva Gedola. We thank you for your support and please come up. And we remember Izzy, who was also, Oliver Shalom Izzy, was a very strong supporter of Yeshiva Gedola. And thank you for continuing on that tradition. And Rabbi Purcell correctly points out that Laser Herzog was the first Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Gedola back in 1966. Yossi Frank, we see is here. Yossi is somewhere, so Yossi would like to call you up, please, and thank you for your support. Soli Spiegler and the Spiegler family, also longtime supporters of Yeshiva Gedola. Soli, please come up. Label New needs no introduction to this crowd and to the community, so we thank Label for your support and call Label up, please. Josh Goldhirsch is a member of the board. Josh spends countless hours helping Yeshiva Gedola and many other moistists around town, and we call Josh up to please. The next two people are not on the list, but we obviously have to call them up. Mr. Gurovich, who is here, who has been the driving force behind this latest push for a redevelopment. We thank Mr. Gurovich, and of course, please participate in the meeting. Avram Purcell is here day in, day out, making sure the moisture runs properly. So we thank you for everything, and please come up. A new addition to the Yeshiva Gedola staff in recent years has been Chaim Muller, who's been so helpful. And he's clearly popular amongst the Bochum, so thank you, Chaim. I mentioned before that in 1974, the Lubavitcher Rebbe sent out Rabbi Cohen and his wife, my mother-in-law, Reva Cohen, to Australia. And Yeshiva Gedola certainly wouldn't be what it is today. Neither would Melbourne be what it is today without their dedicated years of service. So Rabbi Cohen has already been up, and I'd like to ask Reva Cohen to please come up, Bobby, to... He's been up before. Yeah, you. Yeah.
That's good.
Rabbi Mottel Gutnick, we'd like to call you up, please, Rabbi Gutnick, for all your dedicated years of service. First student, Yeshiva Gedola, and we know that your father, Oliver Sholem, was very instrumental in the running of the Yeshiva Gedola and the establishment. Personally, was involved in the purchase of the property, so we're happy to continue that tradition. And finally, we'd like all the rabbis who are the teachers of Yeshiva Gedola, who are here giving shiurim, Magidei Shir, the Mashpia, all of you to please come up. to participate in this momentous occasion.
Late 60s. I was here like early late 60s, early 70s. I was the first group that went to school. Yeah, some most of them.
We didn't see that Mr. Mendel New is here. He's in the back row, like he likes to be humble, sitting in the back. Mendel, please come up. We mentioned before that Reb Zalman Serebransky was the founder of Yeshiva Gedola, and there are a few members, the descendants of his family here today, who would like to ask the members of the Serebransky family, Rabbi Serebransky in the back, Mendel Serebransky is on the board of Yeshiva Gedola, to please come up. So, if anyone has been left out, we apologize. Not that you're not important, but we apologize and we thank all those that have participated in this momentous occasion. Before we finish, we're going to call all of the Bochurim to come up, and I'll explain why we're going to call them up. Because yesterday in Shul, our friend Rabbi Krasniansky, one of the Talmidei Chachomim par excellence of this city, when he heard there was a groundbreaking for a new Yeshiva Gedola today, as he tends to do off the cuff, he can come up with, he can come up with some wonderful things to say. And he said, you know, Dov, the Yeshiva world, the Torah world, this week, or the next few weeks, will be celebrating the end of the Daf Yomi cycle, where Jews from all around the world, all types of Bnei Torah, will be getting together to finish off the cycle of the Daf Yomi. And who established the Daf Yomi was Rameir Shapiro. And outside his famous yeshiva, Chachmei Lublin, there was one posuk that was written on the front of the yeshiva. And what was that posuk? It was from Tehillim, L'chu vonim shimuli, yiras Hashem alamedchem. Go sons, heed me. The fear of Hashem I will teach you. And people asked Rabbi Shapiro, well, why, of all the pasukim to choose, why did you choose this particular pasuk? And his answer was, apparently it's well known, even though I only heard this yesterday, but the answer is, the idea of the yeshiva is l'chu vonim. Learn your Torah and then go out in the world and go and do what you learn in yeshiva and put into practice. And that's obviously the objective of this Yeshiva Gedola, like it is of so many other yeshivas around the world. And our tefillah is, and our blessing for the Bochurim of Yeshiva Gedola, that you should take this message, l'chu vonim.
Do your learning and then go out in the world. Become rabbis, become teachers, inspire the world along the path which you were directed to you in Yeshiva Gedola. So now all the Bochrim to please come up. And because, don't be shy, come on boys. Because this week, as we all know, is Yud Tes Kislev, so we thought it appropriate to finish off the ceremony and to finish off this momentous occasion with the Bochurim singing all together the Niggin from Yud Tes Kislev, and everyone is encouraged to join them.
That want to grow. So for my financial sort of settle.
Slam. Thank you, boys. Thank you very much. And to finish off the proceedings, I'd like to call Josh Goldhirsch, board member, to give the vote of thanks and to close off proceedings, after which everyone is invited to join us for L'chaim.
Thank you, Doc. Just gotta get my glasses.
Lift up the microphone. Pick up the microphone. Yeah.
I've had the zechus to be on the board of YG the last few years. And I say that it is a zechus, and that is the truth. I really feel privileged to be involved in YG for a number of reasons. Firstly, I'm sure many of you are aware of the Lubavitch Rebbe's very close involvement and connection with YG. In fact, when the Rebbe sold his comments before Pesach, the properties that were listed on the first comments were the Rebbe's house on President Street, 770 Eastern Parkway, and the YG properties, both this property at 67 Alexandra Street and the previous property at 11 Meadow Street. I don't think you can get much closer than that. Secondly, YG is part of Tomchei Tmimim, a unique yeshiva system which was founded by the fifth Lubavitch Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, over 120 years ago. The students here spend their days learning both Nigla and Chassidus, as well as being involved in many communal programs and outreach work. The Baal Shem Tov famously said Mashiach will come when the teachings of Chassidus are spread throughout the world, and Tomchei Tmimim in general, and YG in particular, are a critical part of this mission and process. And finally, at the end of the day, YG is involved in Torah Chinuch, education of the youth. I don't think there could be much more an important job than educating the next generation to follow in the path established by our forefathers. So on that note, I would like to say a few thank yous. To our beloved Rosh Hashiva Rabbi Cohen and all the teachers in YG, thank you for your total dedication, your commitment, and your passion. The success and reputation of YG is a testament and a credit to each and every one of you. To Mr. G, who continues to amaze me with his drive and his passion, to Avram Purcell and other members of the management team, thank you for keeping YG going and growing the government and for embarking on this exciting transformational project. To all the shluchim, and I really believe that YG gets the best shluchim every year, and to all the bochrim, and I think YG gets all the best bochrim every year. Thank you for coming to YG and for helping making it the great yeshiva that it is. And of course, a big thank you to all our donors for helping us begin this building project. It couldn't happen without you, and you really are partners in YG. It is particularly meaningful being here today as we are embarking on a new building which has been named after my close friend, Ronnie Titako of blessed memory. We know that Avraham Avinu personified chesed, abundant kindness, and that was Ronnie. He really embodied chesed, and it just wasn't what he did. It wasn't just what he did, but how he did it, always giving with a smile. He really had the rare character trait of empathy. We tell stories of great tzaddikim and chassidim from the past and the extreme acts of kindness. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we had such a person in the 21st century in our community. His name was Ronnie Tataka, and he continues to be an inspiration to all of us, and we miss him dearly. Thank you everyone for coming. Also, thank you Dos for being a great MC. And thank you everyone for coming. And the Yonta for tomorrow night. Yutes Kislev, the Rosh Hashanah of Chabad Hasidus.
See you guys. See you back in the night.
John, while you did, John, you should make cleaning up. I found the invitation to our welcoming card. It was the 19th of December, 1988. So it's almost to the day, 31 years.
Have it up there.
See you tomorrow.
Could someone collect this? The streaming. Someone might knock it off. Down somewhere. This is live streaming. You can turn it off.
Allowed to dismiss.
Where's the? What's it? Oh, you want to collect it before it's not? You can turn it off. Yeah, I think you can turn it off now. Yeah.